Play it. Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40! Can't wait! Let's go!
All right, what is going on, everybody? It is Tuesday night, which means it's time for the Big Three. So, as you can see, got the same group from last week. Got Brett, got Jake in here. I guess before we go any further, how are you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Good.
Yep, can't complain. I mean, there's stuff to complain about for sports, but as far as excited for the show, excited to talk some college football and some NFL. Hopefully we don't spend too much time on our picks for the week, because last week this was
brutal.
I pulled a Kyle there. It was pretty bad.
An adjective. Nice. Yeah, Brett, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. My Packers won. It's Sunday night. I can't complain too much.
Wait, is your team the only one that won out of ours?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, your team didn't even score a point.
We didn't need that detail. I was leaving it at we didn't win. You didn't have to throw
the one way you could spin
score.
it is your defense looked awesome, man. Your defense looked great.
I mean, the defense, to be honest with you, is probably maybe Belichick's saving grace this year.
Absolutely.
If you were to come back, I'd be like, at least I know the defense will be set. The offense, that's another question. Daniel Bear is going on. See you in here. Jory, what's up? Steven Chambers is going on. So, Jake, like you said, we're going to go ahead and get into these topics. We've got to start with the most pressing, I guess, topic of the sports world, the college football playoff. I know, Jory's in here. She's an Alabama fan, so she'll obviously feel one way about this. But I'm interested to see kind of how you guys feel about it. So this is what the committee came up with. Well, John Suggs says it was the correct selection. Florida State without Jordan at quarterback, they would get demolished. Yes, I feel bad for them and should get a shot, but let's be honest, barely beat Louisville, put up 55 yards. UGA going to mollywop them 66-10. We will get into that here shortly. But yeah, so the committee, they got in their little room, their little chamber, crunched the numbers, and they came out with Michigan 1, Washington 2, Texas 3, Alabama 4, Florida State 5, Georgia 6. What's going on, Gene? So, I guess we'll start with you, Jake, on this one. The obvious first question is, do you think the committee got it right? We'll just start there.
Sure. This is their result for the playoff committee. I could think really the only way that things would have gotten worse for the committee is if Oregon beat, because then you would only have 2 undefeated teams and then a whole slew of 1-loss teams. Like heading into the weekend, like pure chaos is Alabama winning and Oregon, and then Michigan undefeated, Florida State undefeated, and then all these other 1-loss teams, including Ohio State, who's finished number 7. That mess up. But regardless, I don't think they got it right. I think you have to reward a team for going undefeated in a Power 5 conference. They did everything that they could do to prove that they belonged. Louisville is a good team. They were ranked, I think they ranked 16th. They were a tough team. They're a good team. We know the schedule is tough, but like Florida, the players can't determine their strength of schedule. They just play the games. They have a fantastic defense. And the thing that gets me is that Florida State, the committee said that because Florida State has a backup quarterback or a third-string quarterback, they're not going to be one of the 4 best teams. You look at the passing yards per game since the injury to Florida State, they're not far behind Michigan in passing yards per game, who's the 1 seed. Like, ways you could dissect this, but Michigan's passing offense isn't fantastic. They also have a good running game, so does Florida State. They have a great defense, so does Florida State. It's just a weaker conference and got punished for it. I mean, there's no way around it though, because then if Florida State gets in, you could say, well, you're going to leave a team that just the 2-time defending champions. So it's a no-win situation for the committee, because no matter what, someone's going to get hurt, someone's going to get left out, someone burn. But for me, I look at Florida State. They've played really well. Their defense is fantastic. They did everything they could to make it and that host. And like John said, it's about the money. Alabama's going to draw a whole bunch more money than Florida State will, despite Florida State being, one of the a big brand. Alabama is just bigger. Alabama is the brand, and it's unfortunate. I don't think they got it right. Because at this point, if you're going to make the argument for Florida State that they're not as good because of their quarterback, well, then shouldn't Georgia be number 5? Like, because Georgia, if they're using the same logic, Georgia should be better than Florida State. What about Ohio State? Ohio State has all this talent. Shouldn't they be better than Florida State, since Florida has this injury at quarterback? It's bad. It shows a huge flaw in their logic. It shows that they predetermine more or less an SEC team into the college football playoff. And I hate that they say it's the the best teams are the most deserving, because if it's the best teams, then it's opinion and conjecture. It's predicting. Whereas the most deserving teams show that you went out there and you played your games. This message that they shows that games don't matter. The games don't matter. They could have a 2-loss Alabama team. Oh, you know what? We think they're better than Florida about their quarterback. Like, it opens up the door to all of these predicaments that they could get into by stating that the games really don't matter. I'm really what Kyle has to say, because he's been kind of iffy on the committee over the years, and I want to hear what he has to say, but I don't think they got it right. I think you have to Florida State in for going undefeated in a power conference.
I mean, it's definitely a point that the committee tried all Sunday night to express why Florida State wasn't good enough. Gene asked what was criteria, and then he also said you were correct with that logic. And basically what it came down to, you want the 4 most deserving or the 4 best. I mean, most people in the chat, well, first I'd say appreciate everybody in the chat. Chat is kind of going crazy right now, but
it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely love that. Gene also said this isn't the top 4 teams or the 4 most deserving. I mean, Brett, I'm going to go to you real quickly here. I mean, I don't know how much college football like you really get into or anything like that, but do you have any thoughts on what the committee did or anything like that?
It's really interesting to me, because I was kind of thinking on the same line of thinking of Jake with that one, because if you're going to rank Alabama above Florida State, why didn't you just do the same with Georgia? That's just really weird to me. But on one hand, I can see the argument for putting in Alabama over Florida State. Third-string quarterback, they're probably going to get trounced by Michigan. But I do think at the end of the day that Florida State, they did deserve the chance to go out there and prove it. And they earned the right to go out there and face Michigan. Whatever the result was, maybe they prove everybody wrong again like they've been doing all year. So I don't think they got this one right. But at the same time, I can kind of see the argument, too, for Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, look, the crazy thing is, by arguing what the committee did, you're trying to say, like, Alabama isn't good enough to play for a title as well, which they obviously are, but with the system they had in place, which, to be honest with you, this is the NCAA's fault, the 80s of these commissioners, or whatever you call it, the chair, whatever, of the conferences, for not seeing that the 4-team system was going to blow up in their face eventually. And I know that we talked about this on Cheap Seats last night, where the ACC actually was one of the conferences that voted against the 12-team playoff being implemented this season. Ironically, they're the ones that got left, holding the bag at the end of it. But it always seems like, college football is like behind all these other sports that college football fans will sit there and say that their sport's greater than the NFL for X, Y, and Z, or they're better than the NBA for X, Y, and Z. Yet they're like the only sport, or whatever you want to call it, that doesn't allow these teams to go out on the field and actually earn a title. Because if you played high school football at the end of the season, you're in some massive tournament, you win that, you win the title for your division or whatever. The division of college football right below this one, they have like a 24-team playoff. They managed to make it work, and they crown a champion. But at this level, which is the highest level of college football, it's based on a few guys in a room deciding who the 4 best or the 4 that they like at that moment are to fight for a title. And obviously, you feel bad for the Florida State players, especially the ones who could have maybe declared for the draft last year, came back to give it one last shot at the title, and to have it end the way that it did, you obviously feel bad for them. But my one little thing about this is Florida State dealt with the injury. They beat Florida. It was I think number 5 at that point. Beat Florida, moved up to 4. So the committee said at that point the injury wasn't that big of a deal because they moved them up a spot. Then they go into the ACC title game against Louisville. A lot of the analysts were picking Louisville to beat Florida State because of the injury to the quarterback. And supposedly Louisville was supposed to be good enough to beat this Florida State team. But Florida State overcomes, beats them. To then sit there and look up at a screen and wait for these guys to determine whether or not they deserve to be in. And not only did they get jumped by Alabama, who was number 8, after that, Texas jumped them, and Texas was number 7. Now, Texas, won the Big 12, Alabama won the SEC. So you have to congratulate them for that. And obviously, it seems like Texas only really got in because they beat Alabama. And if you're going to put Alabama in, how would you justify not putting Texas in? So, the 2 spots that possibly were open to Florida State, 3 and 4, once we saw Texas at 3, I told myself the committee's really going to do it. They're going to put Alabama in over Florida State. And I don't care about this, Florida State, because of the injury, is just going to get destroyed by Michigan. That's not my problem. That shouldn't be what they're determining in that room either. Because if you're going to sit here and say that football is a team sport, so why can't the other Florida State players rally around the fact that their quarterback's injured and play better than maybe they have all season and beat a Michigan team? And if they did that, now Florida State becomes a really good story. But everybody's looking at it and looking in their crystal ball and saying that they're going to get destroyed, so it's justified to keep them out. And yeah, Anthony put it's about money. I thought Florida State was a pretty big brand as well. It's not like they kicked out Cincinnati a couple of years ago, who got in. Cincinnati is a brand. I wouldn't put it on a level of Alabama. I'm pretty sure Florida State fans travel pretty well.
They do.
So
they travel very well.
So I just don't get that argument that it was about the money. It's clearly that
it's because Alabama's a bigger brand.
Yeah,
that's what it is. They're a bigger brand. The SEC is a bigger brand.
Yeah, and they determined that Florida State wouldn't be competitive, so why do it? And then this other argument that Florida State's going to get destroyed by Georgia, which is somehow going to prove they didn't deserve to be in. You put yourself in the shoes of somebody at Florida State, you win the ACC title, you're celebrating on the field, you assume you're going to be in the playoff. They tell you you're not going to be in, and then you're supposed to just get up for a game against Georgia for what reason? What does it mean at that point? If they lose, who cares? If they win, who cares? Is anyone going to give them credit for beating Georgia? No, because they'll just say, well, Georgia was disappointing because they weren't in the playoff. It's like a no-win situation for Florida State at this point. Gene says the argument is simple. Alabama is better than Florida State. So do you want to see Michigan versus Alabama or Michigan versus Florida State? Georgia's going to kill them. I wouldn't show up if I'm Florida State. Yeah,
But here's the
I'm
thing,
assuming
Gene.
all their players are gonna opt out.
But here's the thing, Gene. Like, we don't know that FSU is better than Alabama until they play each other. We just don't know. All of these arguments are, it's only opinion. It's all conjecture. It's all looking into the future, trying to guess, trying to predict, and we it's impossible to say because they haven't played each other.
So John said they probably look back at the last 10 years at teams that got in, which could have been a head scratcher. TCU, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, they got. I mean, yes, I said it was probably the TCU part. TCU did win the semifinal game, though. They lost the championship game. So, but yeah, even overall, the biggest thing was, why did we have a 14 playoff to begin with? You have 5 power conferences. Why would you only have a 14 playoff? That's the part that made zero sense to me in the beginning, because all that has done is made the conferences, the teams that are in conferences that aren't SEC or Big Ten teams, contemplate moving. Look, the Pac-12 died because of it. Because the Pac-12 never gets in. Oddly enough, the year that the conference is dead, Washington gets into the playoff. The Big 12 usually never gets in. Texas luckily got in. I feel like I'm missing something, Gene. Okay, so the Jets haven't played the 49ers this year. Who's better? 49ers, LOL. The undefeated high school boys basketball team isn't better than Duke. I mean, yes, but
Look.
But the other point is, like, why is it that college football thinks this way, but college basketball doesn't? They put Mercer against Duke. Normally, you'd look at that and say Mercer would get destroyed, but the one occasion Mercer beats them, we look at it and we celebrate it. George Mason, the first 4 team, made the Final Four. Everybody loved that. But college football is like, no, we can't have that. We have to have the big boys, the blue bloods in there. Otherwise, nobody's going to watch it. I mean, Gene, do you want to come on? Sure. Because I understand why they left Florida State. I'm not arguing whether or not Alabama deserved it. It's just the system stinks and the decision sets a precedent that, luckily, they're going to a 12-team playoff, so they probably won't see this again. But it's just a weird thing to tell a team, you won every game, you beat everybody on your schedule, but because of one injury in a sport that's supposed to be a team sport, you don't get to play for a title. That's my only issue with it.
And Kyle, you're right with your issue with it, but I just kind of want to make one point.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a 2-part point. If you guys all watch college football, right? You've watched these teams play football.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I asked that is for a reason. On New Year's Day, would you rather watch Michigan versus Alabama or Michigan versus Florida State?
I mean, I'd watch either one, but yes, I see. Yeah, Michigan, Alabama would be a better game. Yeah.
Alabama's the better football team. Florida State plays in the ACC. They have the 53rd strength of schedule in the country. When they beat LSU earlier in the year, they had their great quarterback, Jordan Travis. Since he's been out, that offense has been terrible. Now, granted, their defense is legit. They're very good defensively, but they would get killed. It wouldn't be close. So, like, the argument that we're making, that I see made all across the country, is Florida State deserves to be in, which they do. They are one of the most deserving teams to be in the college football playoffs. That's not the point. That's not the point. They could deserve to be in. Cincinnati deserved to be in when Alabama mollywopped them. But they weren't one of the 4 best teams in the country. And what the committee has said, now, granted, they're wrong, and I've said this on numerous occasions, they didn't do either. They didn't put the 4 best teams in, and they didn't put the 4 most deserving teams. So that they're wrong. But what they've said from day one is we're going to put the 4 best teams in. And if you could watch Alabama play football and watch Florida State 3-3 in the middle of the third quarter versus Louisville, and you tell me one team's not better than the other. I don't know what you're watching.
But also we saw Alabama. We saw Alabama barely beat Auburn, who the week before got beat by New Mexico State. Like things, Alabama's not this juggernaut. They're a very good team, but just because Florida State barely beat Louisville was struggling, like Alabama's had their struggles too, and they all lost to a team coming off of an embarrassing loss. Like Alabama's not perfect. They're really good. And I agree with you, Gene. Like the problem is the system.
I
They
agree
didn't
with
pick
that.
the 4 best teams. They didn't pick the 4 most deserving teams. And the message that I think that's irritating me, and maybe I came across wrong, is it should be the most deserving teams, in my opinion, because otherwise the regular season just doesn't matter. If you're just going to pick the best teams, then why play the games? Let's just have a poll and then just go for it. Not play the regular season games. That's kind of where Florida State could have done anything more to prove their case. And the system just sucks because here's the other thing. If Florida State gets in and Alabama goes out, I could make an argument that Alabama deserves to be in over Florida State. Either way, it's a broken system. And I think the thing that makes me upset is that it just shows that they're chasing money, chasing ratings, and they're not just trying to put together a more fluid playoff system like we have in the NFL, NBA, and NCAA basketball.
Well, you're absolutely right on the majority of things that you said there. It's just anyone that's watched college football and can break it down will tell you there's no doubt about it who the better team is. Now, I just want to answer Anthony's question. He said, who's the best for? Who's the most deserving for? If you want to go by most deserving for, it's Michigan, Washington, Florida State, and Texas. They're the most deserving for. Who are the best for? Yeah, it's Michigan, Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State. They're the 4 best teams in the country. They're better than the other teams. They are.
I agree 100% with your 4 best teams. 100%.
But they don't do either. They didn't do deserving or they didn't do best. And that's the problem. And I think that your point is spot on that Florida State deserves to be there. But when we're all sitting watching football on New Year's Day, I'm telling you right now, when it's 21-3 Alabama at halftime, you're turning off the Alabama-Florida State game. Or if it's 21-3 Michigan, you're turning off the Michigan-Florida State game. But when it's 17-14 Michigan over Alabama, you're tuned in. And look, I'm not Vegas, right? But the point spread that Vegas put together for a Michigan-Florida State game was Michigan minus 11.5. They said on a neutral field, if Alabama played Florida State, it would be Alabama minus 17.5. The spread for Michigan versus Alabama is 1. I want to watch better football. What if I'm unselfish or I'm selfish to Florida State fans and they're not getting what they deserve, because they do deserve it, right? I want to see better football teams. And these 4 football teams can all win the national championship. All 4 of them can win. Florida State's got no chance of winning national championship. None. They would have had none. Sorry, I just wanted to jump in and give my opinion.
No, I completely get it. And to me, like, I'm fine with if Florida State didn't have a chance. But they should still at least get the opportunity to play. And I still think, because I said it before, the 14th playoff was never a good idea. Plus, the fact that the level below has a 2014 playoff that works really well, and normally you still get like the same team or 2 to win it, but at least it's played out on the field. But this level, you have 14 playoff and a bunch of bowl games that nobody cares about. You're telling me if you did 12, 16, or whatever, replacing some of those bowl games that nobody cared about, that college football wouldn't be in a better place?
It'd be in a much better place. You're absolutely right.
Awesome.
And that's
So,
why.
how do these people not figure that out? That's what I don't get.
Because college football is slow to adapt. They're slow to evolve. Tradition. They stick to the tradition, the pageantry. You hear that word all the time, pageantry. Like what other sport uses the word pageantry? It's all that uses it. And The thing that bothers me is that when we get to the 12-team playoff, we're going to have the arguments about who 12th seed or compared to the 13th seed. We're going to have those no matter what. But this also shows that the seeding is going to be more based on who they think is the best. There's the SEC bias and projecting, as opposed to, Florida State would have made it if we had a 12-team playoff, but they'd be the 5th seed. Maybe they should be the 4th seed because they went 13-0. And it's just going to hurt them as far as the seeding goes. And I just, it's a bad message that it sends. It's all predicting. Gene, you made a great point about the Vegas line, but also Vegas had Oregon as a 9-point favorite over Washington in the Pac-12 championship game, and that didn't work out. It's all predicting, and when you get into that, it just takes away from the results on the field. But at the same time, there's no way to win with 4 scenario because Alabama is probably the better team. We just don't know it, and Gene nailed it on the head. The 4 best teams are definitely Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia. In any order you want to put, those are the 4 best teams, and 2 of them didn't get in. The committee just failed on all fronts.
I'll bet you
way to go out on your last 4-team playoff. Way to just blow it all up, man.
I will say this, and I would love to hear your points. I'm going to hop off after this. I'd love to hear you debate it. I think, and this is my personal opinion, if there was a 12-team playoff this year, Florida State would be 3. I think that the reason that they're 5 is because they can only pick 4 playoff teams and they didn't want to let them in. But if there was 12 and they were definitely letting them in, they would do it in order of most deserving. I think they would have Florida State 3 if
that's a good point.
I'll hop off.
That
I'll listen
could
to
be a good point there. Yeah.
Love this show.
Okay.
Love the show, guys.
Appreciate you, Gene.
Thanks, Gene. Appreciate it.
So as Gene brought up the 12-team playoff, I did find this graphic which does show what the 12-team playoff would have looked like based off of the final rankings. And look, like you said also, Jake, college football is kind of slow to adapting and breaking away from the traditions of the game. You're telling me some of these extra matchups wouldn't be interesting? You wouldn't want to see Georgia Ole Miss? Who wouldn't tune into that? Ohio State, Penn State? Okay. I mean, of course, I
watching all those
Florida
games.
State, Liberty, who cares? But as bad as the
No, I'm watching that
Florida
game.
State look, we might look at that and say Liberty might pull the upset. I mean, probably not because of their defense, but it's just that part of it is why I'm so excited for the 12-team playoff because of potential matchups. Georgia, Texas in the second round or the quarterfinal. Would love to see that.
No, this format would be fantastic for this year. And I'll say, to Gene's question, it is an interesting point where if the college football committee has the best teams can make it in, an undefeated team, they could maybe have a little more leeway and be like, all right, let's give Florida State the 3 seed. So we have 1, 2, and 3 all defeated 5 teams. And then we could put, Texas at 4, Alabama would then be the 5 seed, and then kind of move on from there. I could see them potentially to kind of save face and kind of show that maybe they, how do I want to say this? They give the illusion that they value the regular season. Could say in this hypothetical situation that Gene kind of put for us, they'd say, of course the regular season matters. Don't ever, say regular season doesn't matter. Of course, look, the 3 undefeated Power 5 teams that had the 1, 2, and 3 seeds. Of course it matters. When in reality, when rubber hits, it doesn't. But in this situation, they could kind of create that illusion that it does, that they do care about that. When with the 14 playoff, they're just showing the care.
Just catch up some stuff in the chat. I do think John has a good point here. We're saying they've been knowing this is going to be a problem even after UCF went undefeated 2 years in a row and then won their high-ranked bowl games. Or UCF had to put up their own banners saying that they were national champions.
Yep.
That was kind of funny. This was the final year. We can get past it. We'll go into a season of people griping about the 12-team playoff, and then it'll happen, Everybody will love it. And for people like me, I'll probably watch it and go, well, let's go to 16 then. Let's go 24. Why not?
Just keep
I don't care.
on experience. Eventually, it's a 64 playoff, like in March Madness.
Just like March Madness, you see like 7-5 teams in a playoff. People losing their mind.
In the national championship game.
I would love it.
New Mexico national champions, baby.
There we go.
Yeah. Oh.
I'll say this: that is like, as an adult who you have your jobs, you're married. There's around the holidays. It can be scheduled time, but between Christmas and New Year's to watch all of the bowl games, especially if you're talking some random, poinsettia bowl. Like you're not going to go watch that unless your team is involved in it. With this matchup here, I'm watching every single one of those games. I'm taking time out of my holidays to watch Georgia, to watch Oregon, Missouri, to watch all these teams and go through it. And that's just me, who's, you got to imagine there's a million versions of people that would make time to watch this, as opposed to the Vegas Bowl, the Poinsettia Bowl, all those bowl games that they're cool, but half sit out because they don't want to risk injury. I mean, Caleb Williams isn't playing in his bowl game for USC, but they have something to play for, and we get all these extra games that's just going to for way more money for college football. So this is going to be great. It's just a bummer that we couldn't have had this a year earlier to kind of avoid this no-win situation. There is no winner in this situation. Everybody loses because, like Gene had said, the four best teams didn't get in, and the most deserving teams didn't get in.
Yeah, I just pulled up like the bowls that they have, and some of these clearly have changed names several times since I remember. I mean, the first was the Myrtle Beach Bowl. I mean, a chance to go to Myrtle Beach. I'm not gonna.
Myrtle Beach is one of my favorite beaches. That place is beautiful.
Yeah. So shout out to those kids at Georgia Southern and Ohio. They'll get to be on Myrtle Beach. You got Celebration Bowl. Okay. New Orleans Bowl, Cure Bowl, New Mexico Bowl, LA Bowl. Like, okay. Nobody's watching any of these. The Gasparilla Bowl, Georgia Tech and UCF. Let's go. I was looking to see if BC made a bowl. I'm sure they did. Oh, the Fenway Bowl, because yes, put them in Boston, the only place where BC fans probably actually
yeah, don't give the student athletes a chance to travel somewhere cool, experience something fun. It's like I lived in Idaho for a year, and Boise State played in the Idaho Potato Bowl at their home stadium, and it's like, come on, like at least let them travel somewhere and reward them for like just like could see another state. Like, come on, man.
The Fenway Bowl's at 11 a.m. December 28th. Yes, it's gonna be great viewership.
Is it you tune in?
But imagine if that's Florida State.
Will I tune in?
You're watching that at 8:00 at 11 in the morning on the East Coast time. You're watching that.
Yeah. Pop-Tarts Bowl. What the prizes for that one? NC State, Kansas State. Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. Great cereal. Did not know he had a bowl named after him. I mean, we got stuff to do this for one more year. But I think the last thing I was going to say was there was a Mike Leach quote from like 2017 about the playoff. So I think somebody brought it up after what the committee did. And he was in a press conference, and kind of where I started with earlier, where he was like, every level of football has this extensive playoff to truly find who the champion is, except for this level, where it's some guys in a room just going with magical numbers to put teams together. And he was just like, why is that? So I think that's where we leave it off with. Why is the system the way it is when it's not like this anywhere else? Could you imagine in the NBA, they did a system like this, and like the final playoff spot in the West, it was between like the Lakers or the Trailblazers. And the Trailblazers got a better record, but obviously they would pick the Lakers because that's the bigger brand, and it would bring more viewership. We would look at the NBA and laugh at it for doing stuff like
It'd be a joke.
Yeah, but college football. Mike Leach was good for a quote. it's
He's
one
good
thing
for
Mike Leach
quota.
is good for.
For college football, just to show how like antiquated it is. Like I remember when I first started watching
So
college
sad, Jim.
football, it was around the early 2000s. I was learned that there were things such as split national championships. Well, my dad told me that like how the bowl system worked before, where the top teams when people made the BCS number 1, number 2 playing each other, and I had to learn that that wasn't the case for decades and decades in college football. Way how dumb of an idea that was. So they are making progress. They are getting better, but like college football has always been way behind in regard. So many split national championships that just it boggles your mind if you go and you look through it on like Wikipedia. It's mind blowing.
I mean, they've come a long way. Remember, it used to be a computer that decided this, which is baffling to hear people try to explain what the algorithm was for the computers. They never do.
Well, the funny thing is the experts didn't even know what went into the computer system for the BCS. They were like, we don't really know. We put the data in, this is what it gives us, but we don't know what it's looking for. It's nuts.
Yeah.
So this will
think
make it
that
better.
was a
They're
legit
getting
system.
better.
Yeah. Progress is being made. Let's see. I think I skipped over this one from John. Only issue with the bowl games is you got 7 versus 9, 10 versus 11, 5 versus 6. Then you got 8 versus 23.
It's just
They
how
have
the
their
bowl
reasons.
they usually have things where it's like, oh, we'll have the number 2 SEC or the number 2 Mountain West team against the number 4
Yeah.
12 team. Like they just have these predetermined things, and that's why some people don't take the bowl game seriously. It's just there's no logic to it. It's just an extra game that people watch, but most people don't because there's no point.
The reason for it is because that's the Fiesta Bowl, Oregon, Liberty, because Liberty, I believe, is the highest ranked group of 5 teams that won their conference, so they're automatically get a New Year's Day bowl. That's why they're in that one. But yeah, it does look kind of weird seeing 8
that's a good
versus
point.
23. But that's the reason why. All right, I think that was good. Actually, Brett, do you have a college football team that you follow?
Not necessarily. I've been just slowly kind of working my way into it. Sometimes I have trouble figuring out which team to follow, honestly, because there's so many.
I mean,
And I tried watching
Wisconsin,
Wisconsin, but
probably
they're
in a
brutal.
conference
So
they weren't in 2 years ago. So that's I mean, you'll get a team out there. You can join. I don't know. Well, who do you think would win the playoff that we have now? Let's end it on that. What are your predictions for that? Who's your favorite out of Michigan, Washington, Texas, Alabama? Who are you picking to win it all?
I'll say if I had to guess. Oh, you can go ahead, Jake.
I'm going to pick, I think both Alabama and Texas both win their games. Michigan has a really good defense, but I've been a little unimpressed with their offense over the past weeks. They played a very good Iowa defense, and that they didn't look as great. Alabama has a fantastic defense, but they also have a really good offense. So I think Alabama and Texas win. I think Alabama's going to win it all. They're peaking at the right time. The other thing to consider for the Michigan-Alabama matchup is if you Saban a month to prepare not just the game plan, but his players for one team, he's going to come out looking way better than any other coaches with that amount of time. So I think Alabama it all, and the college football playoff committee can kind of give the double middle fingers to all the people that are complaining about Florida State being left out because I'll win it all. They're, big screw you. But yeah, and I haven't been impressed by Washington. They're a good team. They're undefeated, but they've struggled. And I think Alabama's going to win it all.
I'll say I think I'll go with I think Texas is going to win it all. Kyle, who do you got?
Texas beats Alabama to win the title. Well, John agreed. Well, John had Michigan versus Texas, and then Texas beating Michigan in the final. That would be interesting. All right, so before we go to our next topic, let's go ahead and get a word from the network.
What's up, everybody? It's Control Simpson with Wire to Wire Sports Podcast, where we're going to cover all things breaking news, sports related. We're going to preview games, and we're also going to give you our reaction to the games that have happened before. You can catch us on Wednesdays from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And if you miss us there, no worries. You can also catch us on Roku with Northeast Streaming Sports Productions from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Hey, and listen, if you're not into all sports and just NFL, we have Sideline to Sideline. That's on Thursday nights from 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 8 p.m. We'll break down the NFL week, the Thursday night game, and we'll preview all NFL action.
And if you're like me and college football is your fix, tune in every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. for Coast to Coast College Football pregame show. We'll review the previous week's action, the day's biggest games. We'll give you our pick'ems, and we'll even give you some teams that are on upset alert.
And if you don't catch us live, you can download us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to your podcast. We do also have a YouTube station, Wire to Wire Sports Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
So that's word from Wire to Wire. We just had Gene on. Make sure you check them out tomorrow night, where they talk about, I'm sure they'll talk about the college football playoff as well as other topics. Great show. Make sure you tune in and show them some love. All right, so we go from the college football playoff to an actual tournament that teams, qualified for on the court. Play against each other to win the first inaugural NBA Cup. This isn't the updated one because we had a couple of games last night. So the Pacers beat the Celtics and the Pelicans beat the Kings. So just slot them in, the allocated box. Tonight we have Bucks, Knicks, Lakers, Suns. First off, I think we talked about this before, but going into the in-season tournament, has it met your expectations, exceeded them, or has it fallen short to what you thought it was going to be? Start with Brett.
I think it's exceeded them, honestly, and I don't even understand. There's some people that are still hating on them, and I just don't get it. It's added some extra weight to regular season games. There's a lot of people who complain the regular season doesn't matter, and here's a way to try to make them matter. And especially when you watch a game last night like Boston and Indiana, that was a lot of fun. Halliburton went crazy there, especially that 4-point play to seal it. Man, it's just been a lot of fun to watch so far, and I've absolutely loved this in-season tournament, and I'm really glad they implemented it.
Jake?
Yeah, I'll just kind of echo what Brett said. Like, it's exceeded my expectations. Part of it is because my expectations were very low. I was kind of just wanting to see what the tournament would look like the first year in, because I really still didn't understand how it would look. They explained it pretty well, and I had a good, but you still how the tournament's going to look and play out to get a good feel for it. Very similar to how the play-in tournament worked for the postseason a couple years ago. A lot of people were just kind of, at least for me, I'll say I was waiting to see how things would look and how it would turn out, and I love it. It's great. It's same thing for the in-season tournament. It's really good. It's really exciting. We get the same level of intensity if the Pacers and the Celtics play a regular season game on December 4th, but with the in-season tournament, it's really hyped up. We get that big 4 play, and I'm tuned in, and I'm watching it, and I'm invested, because I think most fans don't start watching football until after Christmas or sometimes even after the Super Bowl. This gives people a reason to watch. We get better matchups. We get, look at the seedings there. Lakers, Suns. We had the Pelicans and the Kings. We get good matchups. We get good moments. We get higher stakes. People aren't going to be taking these games off like they would in the regular season. So I'm all for it. I want the finals look, and it's got me more interested in NBA basketball in December than I was last year.
Yeah, for me, I would say it's slightly exceeded it, because I was a big fan of it going in. And I think with it being the first year, you wanted to see how the players would take to it. That's the only reason why I might have held back a little bit. But watching Indiana's bench at the end of the game when Neesmith had the and one at the rim, and them just running out, and that kind of energy you don't normally get early December. So just for that alone, Silver's killed it, And Silver also made it known that they may tweak it a little bit and everything like that. So I just think it'll continually to get better. One tweak I do think might be playing the teams in your group twice, home and away. I guess to make it fair, because the way it was this year was like 2 of the teams you played at home, then 2 you played on the road. And I also heard Frank Isola and Scalabrine talk about they would love to see the tournament be extended out, like leading up to the Christmas Day games. And if you added in the extra games of the pool play, you could probably do that. And I think that would be a really good idea. So you'd have this intensity leading to Christmas. And like you said, Jake, Christmas is like when everybody's like, okay, let's tune into the NBA, let's see what's going on. Because they kind of own Christmas Day. And then they kind of watch from there on after. But now you get people more invested earlier on. So, yeah, I'm all for it. Anybody who's against
What if
it,
you had the championship game on Christmas? What if you extended it out Christmas Day as a championship game? I mean, the only
Very
downside to
nice.
that potentially is that you wouldn't be able to have you wouldn't be able to schedule your marquee games like they do for Christmas for all
Yeah.
like the major but they might be able to find some way to kind of work around it and have your big Christmas, your championship on Christmas. Maybe something to think about. I don't know how the logistics. Definitely extending it out closer towards Christmas could get people more hyped into it. You see all these players, you see everything that's going in, and then you are for sure watching basketball this day because you've seen Halliburton. Like basketball guys, they know Halliburton is amazing, but the regular casual fan like my dad who would just potentially watch it if it's on, he doesn't know who Halliburton is because it's the Pacers. You see him do that kind of thing, you're going to want to watch him more throughout the season. If he has a Christmas Day game, you're going to want to watch. Definitely would bringing it closer to Christmas would definitely increase the viewership, I think.
So looking at the 2 games tonight, quick prediction here. So you got Lakers, Suns, Bucks, Knicks. So Brett, who do you have winning those games tonight?
So I'll start with Lakers Suns. I still like the Lakers. I think it'll be a nice it'll be a battle, but I think the Lakers can just generate easier shots at the rim more so frequently than the Suns can. And I think that'll kind of be the difference maker. And with the Bucks and Knicks, I will choose, my Bucks, but don't be shocked if the Knicks do win this one. One of the Bucks' flaws is rebounding, and the Knicks are absolute demons on the offensive glass. So they're going to be getting a lot of second chance points. The question is, will they be able to convert on them? So
Jake, who do you have in the 2 matchups?
I'm gonna echo Brett. It's kind of boring to pick the number one, but I think Lakers, their size is going to make a big difference against the Suns. I think they're going to be able to rebound. Their defense is going to be a big factor, and they can just generate easier points. And I think Milwaukee's going to win. Their offense has just been fantastic. They're going to be able to outscore the Knicks, and I think they just want it. Like Giannis knows this is a big deal for them to get there, to get the momentum to make that championship run. The Knicks, they do have a great rebounding team, but I just think Milwaukee's going to be able to score at will against them and
Well,
what about you, Kyle? What are your predictions?
I think the one thing with Bucks Knicks is going to be how does Julius Randle play? If we get horrible jacking up shot Julius Randle, it might turn to a blowout. If he's locked in, I think the Knicks have a shot, but I'm picking the Bucks in that game. Lakers Suns is interesting. Oh, go ahead, Brett.
I was going to say, so to give you an update, the Bucks are currently up 2, but Julius Randle is actually 7 of 7 from the field right now. He's really locked in.
Oh boy.
I actually forgot that game started at 7:30. It was right there on the graphic in front of me. But so that actually does lead to a possible upset for the Knicks. If Randall's going to be efficient, then I kind of don't worry about the other pieces around him. My biggest thing has always been Randall's play. So, but I'll still take the Bucks though. I feel like Giannis is not going to allow them to lose here. Lakers Suns I think is interesting. I mean, the Suns don't have Bradley Beal, but then again, he's been around barely, so they kind of know how to play without him. I mean, the key is going to be KD for them, obviously. And then for the Lakers will be Does AD play like an MVP, or do we get the AD that frustrates everybody, where it looks like he's not engaged or like he's like a fourth or fifth option on the court? But I think I will go. Does AD have an injury? Didn't he? That's actually a good question.
Let's see. He is listed day to day with an abductor injury, so he's day to day right now.
I would assume maybe he tries to gut it out, but I don't know about that. I might actually take the Suns if he doesn't play. As crazy as that may sound. Get about 2.5 minutes to get hurt. Yeah, I'll go Suns Bucks. Let's go with that. Okay, so then, would you have winning it all, based off of your predictions for tonight, and the fact that the Pacers and Pelicans moved on from last night? I guess what's your championship matchup, and then who wins it?
I'm gonna go big here. I think the Pelicans are gonna come out on the side of West. I like what they've been doing. I think it's gonna be kind of an upset. I think Zion could potentially cross the matchup. I just like how the Pelicans are built from a roster standpoint. And I think they're just going to have too much energy. And then out of the East side, I think Milwaukee's going to come out. I think it's going to come down between the Bucks and the Pelicans, and I think win it all.
Pelicans, that's interesting. Okay, Brett, what matchup do you have?
So I do like LA coming out of the West. I just don't think the Pelicans would match up particularly well against them. And I'm going to go bold on the East. I'm going to go bold. I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I'm going to pick against the Bucks. I'm going to say the Pacers come out of the East. I think the Pacers are an absolute nightmare matchup for the Bucks. Bucks have trouble defending guards, and there's not much better offense you can get from a guard this year than Halliburton. I think he's going to go crazy. He's going to start collapsing the defense and start spraying out to shooters. It'll be a huge issue for Milwaukee. And I'm going to go bold, too. I'm going to pick the Pacers to just win it all. They'll beat LA, too, in the finals.
I'd be for it. That'd be a cool story to see.
I like that. I mean, I was actually going to take the Pacers out of the East as well. I think last night showed them the type of team that they can be. Because I think up to this point, they were seen as a team that played zero defense but could only score. Last night, at certain moments, they played defense at a level that, to pair with the offense that they potentially have, would make them very dangerous in terms of a playoff situation. John put Pacers are his dark horse this year. You have very good reason to think that, because if Halliburton's going to play like he did last night, then they're well on their way to making some noise in the playoffs. They got Obi Toppin knocking down threes now. Knicks fans have gotta love that move of just letting him go for basically nothing. And he looks like he fits in Indiana. Matherin, Healed. Like they have the makings of a team that could give a lot of teams, problems. Obviously, the question is going to be the youth and inexperience, can they overcome that? But I'll take the Pacers out of the East, and then the West. Oh, man. I'll probably say the Lakers-Suns winner probably comes out of the West. Just to be bold, I'll go Suns. So I'll go Pacers-Suns. Give the Pacers over the Suns.
All right. 2 people of the Pacers. Let's give Indiana some love.
I've been big on the Pacers, and last night they just looked like a team that's kind of figuring it out finally.
Say Halliburton's.
Go ahead, Brett.
I'll say Halliburton's coming out of the gate almost reminiscent, really reminding me of almost watching young Steve Nash play. So I'm really, really hard to bet against him at this point.
Jory put at the fault of your Celtics. It's fine. Take your shot. That's okay. The Celtics don't need the NBA Cup. Okay, their eyes on that prize of June. Okay.
As long as Porzingis can stay healthy.
Porzingis is fine. Just taking some time, kick back.
It's not a matter of if he can stay healthy. It's a matter of when he's healthy. Want his 3-week to 4-week injury to happen in February, so then he can get back healthy and be back for Boston in the playoffs. He's gonna get hurt. It's just a matter of in
However
April.
he gets there.
Not so good. If he gets hurt in February, that's fine.
I don't need to see him until probably May at this point. He can sit from now till May.
Start resting him for.
I mean, he does make such a big difference, and it's crazy that him and Jaylen Brown connection, like they live in the same building and all this kind of stuff. They play on the court like they've been teammates forever. But yeah, I mean, look, if they're gonna lose to anybody, I'm fine with it being the Pacers because I just like the Pacers that much as well. I think John, when I asked, would he put the Pelicans? He's high on the Pelicans, which I like the Pelicans as well. For them, it's obviously going to be Zion's health and how that works for them. Let's see. And to add to this in tournament, I think it has lit some fire under some of these teams. That's fair. Yeah, the intensity's definitely been there for each game, so I agree with that. Now we'll have to see, once the tournament's over with, will teams kind of lay back a little bit because nothing's really on the line still. Or they kind of keep the intensity up for a little bit after. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to our next topic. But once again, let's have a word from the network.
Hey guys, it's Pavel the Cat.
And Evan Rev Reynolds.
And we are Two Guys in Hockey Talk. We are here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time to talk all things hockey. What do we talk about, Evan?
We talk KHL, AHL, ECHL, every HL hockey league you can think about, prospects, juniors, even the professional women's hockey league.
Yeah, we love it. And we have a website, Two Guys in Hockey Talk. So give us a follow. We got articles on all things related to hockey, and we're writing all throughout the season. So make sure you tune in. We're also on X or Twitter. You can find me at hockey_2, and
you can follow me at Revan Ev. Or you can also go to twoguyesandhockeytalk.com to follow everything.
We love hearing from you guys, so make sure you tune in, comment, like, give us a follow on our Facebook and YouTube page. We love hearing from you guys, and it's a blast talking all things hockey, right, Evan?
Hey, man, it is. So, as we say every show, in the meantime and in between time,
keep your sticks on the ice. Cheers.
Cheers.
Those are the guys from Two Guys in Hockey Talk. If you're into hockey, if you're not into hockey, you should still tune in. You'll learn something. You'll get a laugh or two. Really, really great show. Mo, what's going on? I'm not shocked seeing the Pels beat the Kings. They're more talented to win at 100%. Yes, definitely agree. I mean, how do you segue to this? From the excellence of the in-season tournament to what are the Detroit Pistons, who pulled off the incredible feat of going a whole month without a win and started off December without a win. Maybe they're in for another month that they're just going to say, winning games, who needs that? We're here about development, which none of that's happening either. So I don't know what the plan is in Detroit. Somebody's got to tell me. But I mean, first off, like, how crazy is it to not win a game in a month? And it's not like they played the Bucks and Celtics every game. You know, they lost to Portland. That kicked it all off. I guess that you lose to Portland, you just go down the toilet. You know, they lost to the Bulls. Bulls aren't playing great.
Lost to the Wizards. You lost to the Wizards. Come on. You gotta be able to beat Washington.
That's Jordan Poole, though.
The tank off in Washington.
And that's at home. That's at home. You lose to Washington. Come on.
I lost to Toronto. They got blown out by Toronto. Toronto's been kind of middle of the road, but to get blown out by them is rough. I mean, yes, they lost to Philly, the Bucks, the Suns. We understand that, but there was definitely winnable games in there, and they lost them all. So, like, looking at Detroit, what do you think is going on? Like, where do you pinpoint the problem with Detroit? Do you think it's collection of players? You think it's the coach? You think it's all the above? Like, where do you go with it? How do you begin to fix Detroit? Start with Brett.
The problem is Detroit is Detroit. It's just the entire thing what they got going on here. Let's start with the players. They have a collection of players. They have talent. Let's not lie to ourselves. They have talent, but none of the talent actually fits together. We're watching them run the lineups with Cade Cunningham and then 3 non-shooters with Asur Thompson, Killian Hayes, and Jalen Duren. So their only source of spacing is Isaiah Stewart, and Cade Cunningham isn't shooting well himself. So they got almost a lineup where we're trying to run 4 in, 1 out. That doesn't work. So I think they have talent. They just got to really figure out which one are keepers. Which to me, I think Cade Cunningham is a keeper. I think Isaiah Stewart, Jalen Duren, and Jaden Ivey—they're all keepers. I'd keep Bogdanovich on as a vet to kind of help guide them, and I would start moving the others. Let's start moving. Let's get some pieces that actually fit the pieces that we want. So, and Monty Williams too is him actually like playing lineups like that. I think that's an issue. They're not really developing. None of these players are developing, and Monty's just picking the absolute worst lineups to run together. I get it. It's an experiment year. It's going to be a down year, but you still want to try to at least make sure that you want to try to get these guys to be competing, to be winning games. And some games you see they're competing, but most of these games are losing by 9 or more points, and that's just not ideal. So in other words, it's just a mixture of all the above with Detroit. Bad coaching, bad roster construction. They're just not really doing anything right now.
Bad roster construction, and John said he would change the rotation. Yeah, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, you got to change the rotation. It's a bad roster. This is a bad roster that doesn't fit well. They have good players. It's just a puzzle piece where they just don't fit. And I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to evaluate the talent that they have. It's just trying to see what works and what doesn't. But you can't have a bunch of non-shooters out in today's NBA. You just can't. It's not going to work. There are some pieces that you want to keep. There are some really good players, but this is just a bad roster. They've had some bad luck, and with a young team with pieces that don't fit, new head coach trying to evaluate the talent that he has, you're going to lose a lot of games. I didn't expect that they would lose a whole month in a row. And if you look at their schedule, they play the Grizzlies tomorrow at home. If they don't win that game, they're looking at, they have Orlando, they have Indiana, 2 against Philly, then they go to the Bucks, the Hawks, and then December 21st they play the Utah Jazz. Like if they don't win tomorrow, there's like a 6-game stretch to play the Utah Jazz where they're not really going to have a game where they're going to be favored or have a chance to win. And this losing streak could go from 1 month to 6. And as much as I love Monty Williams as a head coach, it's really hard to defend a head coach when you lose 6 straight weeks of basketball. I think he's a great coach. I don't think the Phoenix Suns should have let him go. But at that point, like, you have to be able to figure something out with a roster because this is almost comically bad. And if it gets to that point where they lose 6 straight weeks of basketball, it's comically bad. And it's just going to be a bad look for Detroit with what they have. You have to worry about the effects that it has on their good talent and the psychological effect and how they're going to be able to build off of this if you're losing. Games that even be like 15, 20 straight games. At that point, you're approaching the record for most consecutive losses.
John asked who's their veteran. I mean, Brett said Bogdanovich they have on the team.
Bogdanovich.
And Joe Harris. They have Joe Harris as well.
Yep.
Joe Harris is there. I did not know that. Okay. That's interesting. But look, Detroit, I'm glad you brought the schedule because that's kind of where I was going to go next. Because, yeah, you miss that opportunity against Memphis, it gets rough. And then with each loss after that, you kind of worry about the psyche of the team. So even if they get to Utah December 21st, they may be completely broken at that point, and Utah might beat them. Then you're looking at back-to-back with the Nets, the Celtics, and the Raptors round out December. And then even into the new year, you got the Rockets, Jazz again, the Warriors, Nuggets, Kings, the Spurs on January 10th. Because oddly enough, Spurs only won one game last month. But at least they weren't Detroit, so nobody's really talking about it. So January 10th could turn into a game where who wins the longest losing streak that we've seen in a while. But yeah, I mean, look, part of it is, yes, they're a young team. But then again, Detroit's kind of been the young team for like several years now. So I think Detroit has to kind of look at themselves and say, do you want to continue down this road and end up like Charlotte or Chicago or even like a Toronto now with pieces don't fit, but you're hoping that they kind of figure it out, and then you're looking at it 5 years down the line like, why didn't we make a change? So I would hope that they move some pieces. You know, I mean, I talked about him before, but Killian Hayes, I don't like Killian Hayes. Don't know why he plays. Move him. Get what you can. You know, do semi-pro and get a washing machine for him. I don't care. Just do something. And Jaden Ivey doesn't even play, which is kind of weird because they took him and it seemed like he was supposed to be kind of a piece to the puzzle, but it's like, I don't know, Monty Williams maybe doesn't like him or something. And, you know, Mo did say that Monty didn't draft any of these guys. And that's true. So you got to give Monty some time to kind of figure it out, but they got to do something with this roster.
Well, that's kind of one issue that I heard with Monty Williams in Phoenix was he did tend to play favorites, so it could be a very realistic thing that he just doesn't like Jaden Ivey. Because Jaden Ivey
Hayes is a favorite. Fire him tomorrow.
Jaden Ivey's been shooting like around 40% from three this year, so at least if it were me, I would think a lineup of like Cade Cunningham, you run Jaden Ivey at the 2, you run Bogdanovich, who just came back from injury, but you know, throw him in at the 3, you run Isaiah Stewart at the 4, Duren at the 5, boom, you have 3 floor spacers around a pick and roll of Duren and Cunningham, and that already sounds much better than what they've been doing. So I'm just not sure. Like, I think a rotation is there to be competitive, but they're just not doing it.
What's really killing them is also looking at how the Magic are playing right now. They're another young team. They went through a couple of years of trying to figure out stuff, and now it's clicked for them. You know, Houston's a young team. Well, they kind of implemented some veterans as well, but, you know, they seemingly are figuring it out. The Kings are a young group. They're figuring it out. Why is Detroit seemingly the constant of a young team that's always at the bottom, trying to look up and figure out what they need to do? We'll see if the Pistons look. If we're on here next week, and the Pistons haven't won a game, we will revisit this. We are on Pistons watch on the Big 3.
Let's do it. They've lost 17 games in a. They've lost 17 in a row, and the record is 28. Just for the record, so like they're not that far off from having the longest losing streak in the history of the NBA, and that'd be something else, man.
Okay. Gotta be remembered for something, whether good or bad. You should remember. All right, let's get off this bad topic of, you know, the terrible Pistons, but another word from the network.
Hey y'all, I'm Key.
And I'm Jory, and tune in to Hoop Dreams and Touchdown Queens every Saturday at 5 p.m. over on Sports Empire Network.
And don't forget, also watch us on Roku TV at Northeast Streaming Productions. So tune in.
So make sure you tune in to Jory and Key Saturdays for Hoop Dreams and TD Queens. One of the newer shows on the network, but trust me, you'll definitely enjoy it. They have content over there. Talk NFL, talk NBA. Give it from their point of view. All right, so now, kind of the part that we always love every week, our overreactions. Mo put Wiseman can't play dead. I kind of forgot Wiseman was in Detroit.
Well, let's say
Detroit's where careers go to die, I guess.
let's say the thing with Wiseman is he's just a terrible defender. He's not a good individual defender. He's not a good team defender. Like, he shows flashes on offense, but he's not a good playmaker either. So you got a guy that really can't play make. He can't really play defense at that point. What's he really good for at that point?
And also, as Mo said, hey, Detroit, you got the Lions. Who thought you would say that 5-6 years ago? At least you have the Lions to root for.
Right.
All right, so look, it's the overreactions. We love this part. The chat loves it. So let's go ahead and get it kicked off. I think we usually start with Jake. So let's go ahead and start with you, Jake. Give us an overreaction.
All right. I got a good overreaction for good stuff for football this week. My first overreaction is, despite the absolute game wrecking that the 49ers played on the Eagles are still going to go to the Super Bowl and represent the NFC. I still believe that they are, when it comes down to it, they're probably going to have that rematch for the NFC Championship game. And I think that the Eagles are going to host the NFC Championship schedule. They have one tough game, and it's this week against Dallas. After that, I think they play Seattle, they play the Giants twice, and it might be the other team they play once. So they really only have one tough game, and it's this Sunday. I think Philadelphia is going to look at what they saw on and what worked and what didn't. Because what worked in the first quarter was their defense. They really were able to look and attack San Francisco. They got Brock Purdy looking uncomfortable, which to do to really kind of wrangle him in and to stop the whole offense from really churning. They held the 49ers to negative yardage. And the problem was San Francisco made a ton of adjustments in quarters 2, 3, and 4 and just blew the doors wide open. I think Philadelphia is going to look at in that first quarter on defense. And I think they're also going to have a ton of opportunities for the offensive line to make some better preparations for how to handle the San Francisco 49ers rush, because that Eagles offensive line is fantastic. We know that they're great, but they didn't play very well on Sunday against the 49ers. I think they're going to have plenty of opportunity to kind of revamp the O-line as far as their technique, their game plan, and it's going to be just a different story come the NFC Championship game. And it's to beat a team twice in a season in a situation like this, especially if you're on the road in both situations. And there's also the fact that for the 49ers, game for San Francisco than it was for Philadelphia. San Francisco wanted to go back into Philadelphia, where Brock Purdy, had his arm all jacked up, where they felt like they were more robbed of the chance to go to the Super Bowl because they didn't have a quarterback. They won the game. They kind of got that big bugaboo off of the back. For Philadelphia, they're like, yeah, we want to win, but we're still the defending NFC Championship team. And I think when it comes down to it, Philly's going to be able to make some adjustments. It's going to be very ugly, a very physical, and it's not going to be a blowout. Do I want to see it happen? No, because I like what I see from San Francisco. But there's something in me that just thinks that Philadelphia is going to figure it out. They added Shaq Leonard. Somehow they just keep adding all of these talented players. It's just mind-blowing that they can keep this up. And I think when it comes down to they're going to be hosting the NFC Championship game, and they're going to win in a close game. That's my first overreaction.
John's overreaction was Casey's done, but honestly, is that an overreaction because they don't have an identity on offense? Where's Damian at? Damian last week was the one coming in. Some of those takes are a little crazy, but he's overreacting. Brett, what's your overreaction?
Oh man, John kind of stole mine. I was going to say Casey's done.
Okay.
They got screwed last week. This past Sunday night by the refs. Listen, I think there are issues with Kansas City. that can't be ignored. They do have issues on offense, and once Kelsey got bracketed, you saw that offense slow way down in the second half. But I'm hearing a lot of people say that the Chiefs got screwed because of bad calls at the end. Come on, guys. I do have an issue with that because that takes away from how Jordan Love looked. He looked absolutely phenomenal, and the Chiefs had, the approximately about 59 minutes and 40 seconds there to score a touchdown, and they couldn't do it. They settled for field goals. They threw a pick at a bad time. So I do think that the Chiefs have some work to do, but man, I'm tired of the narrative that Kansas City got screwed. I think that's a huge overreaction, and I think that the Packers just outplayed them.
Okay, yeah, those are some good ones.
Oh, I'll say this real quick. As far as
Yeah.
for the Kansas City Chiefs getting screwed, they got screwed. Like, that was a bad call, but the better team still won. The Packers were the better team on Sunday. They played better, but the refs still screwed it up. And you could argue, it's because of the late hit flag that really wasn't with Mahomes. It was bad officiating, and we've seen that rampantly somehow throughout the season, but the better team still won. It is a shame that it's kind of taken away from how good look, but you got to admit, like, the refs screwed it up, even though the better team won.
The refs did screw it up, but the refs didn't screw the Chiefs. They didn't decide. The outcome wasn't decided by the refs, is what I was getting at. Like, yeah, they made some bad calls, but they also missed some extra calls in Green Bay in the last minute. Outside of that pass interference, that clock should have never stopped when Valdez-Scantling went out of bounds. That was called wrong in some bad spots. So it was just messed up on both sides.
It was bad officiating on both sides. It just makes you wonder how the NFL, with the officials are the very, very best, supposed to the very in the world, and they get so many things wrong, and it looks so bad. Like, it really makes you wonder what's going on. But the better team still won. Absolutely.
My overreaction. Jake Browning MVP. No, just kidding. No, that was impressive what he did last night. I knew nothing about him, but shout out to Cincinnati for beating Jacksonville, which I know made Jory happy. I don't know. Like, the Patriots season has just taken so much out of me. I don't even know what to overreact to anymore. Nothing makes sense. The whole league is an overreaction.
Kyle's so jaded.
I mean, look, I was on social media. Somebody put it in a nice little spin on it that, maybe Belichick's playing us all this whole time. He's tanking in a way that just, because the defense is still really good, just offensively they can't do anything. And he's going to get that magical quarterback that's going to solve it all and will be great next year. I guess, but no, that's not my overreaction. So my overreaction is, okay, the Falcons fans, I'm talking to you here. You're not winning the division. Ritter's not a good quarterback. Arthur Smith is not a good coach. Stop believing that just because they're in first place right now that, everybody's just hating on Atlanta and doesn't want to see them win. It's a terrible division once again. You just happen to be the best at the crap that it is right now. I picked the Saints at the beginning of the season. I'm still going to stick to that. At this point, I feel like maybe the Bucs win it for just whatever reason, and it is what it is. But the fact that Atlanta is a 6-6 team, okay, but the quality of football just isn't there. Your best player on offense is your running back, but you don't use them all the time, or you use them sparingly to then rely on a passing game that's not great, even though you have good weapons. But for some reason, they haven't figured out that the equation is off because of the quarterback who's throwing not to them. He's throwing at them in their general direction. Sometimes it finds their hands. Sometimes it finds the turf. But, that's quarterback play in Atlanta. Oh, what's going on, Damien? Here in the chat. But yeah, so don't fall for what's going on in Atlanta. They're still not a good team. They should not win this division. That's my overreaction.
I swear, Arthur Smith just refuses to use his number one options, and it's really hysterical to watch at times. Like, I'm convinced if Arthur Smith was the head coach of the Chiefs, Sky Moore would be leading the team in targets, not even Kelsey. Kelsey would just be a division only.
Yeah, that's something else, man.
Damien said Chiefs need to get T. Higgins in free agency.
Can they afford him though? T. Higgins is going to go for a lot of money. He's going to be an expensive free agent. He's a top tier wide receiver.
I do wonder
I'll go for another overreaction here.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And you could make the argument that Cincinnati should have tried to trade him instead of get some value instead of letting him walk for basically nothing. And it looks really bad now with the Joe Burrow injury. But my overreaction, and this
Jake Browning, he's going to lead him to the promised land.
He's going to do it. He's going to do it. I think Dak Prescott's going to win the MVP this year. That's my overreaction. And I don't love it because I can't stand the Cowboys. I can't stand the Cowboy fans. But if you look at it, like who's looked like the MVP? Like wants it this year. Like everyone's been saying Jalen Hurts is going to win it. I picked him to win MVP in the preseason. He doesn't look like the MVP. Like even before last week, Niners, people kept saying he's the front runner. But if you watch him play, yeah, he's good. But you compare him to other MVP seasons, it's like, man, this is MVP that we've grown to expect. I think if the Cowboys, especially if the Cowboys win against the Eagles on Sunday, and they win it's a no-brainer that he gets the MVP because he, unlike previous seasons with the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott this year is the reason why the Cowboys. It's not because of their running back. It's not because of their offensive line. He's the reason that this engine is running as good as it is. They have a fantastic scoring offense. He's cut down on his interception. And he's got really, really good numbers. I think if they go on this run and they win out, and you look at the remaining schedule, they play the Dolphins, the Bills, and then the Eagles. Like they have a pretty tough schedule. If they get the NFC East and he has good numbers, I think it's enough for him to get it in a season where Mahomes in it and playing Jalen Hurts. I mean, people say he's going to do it, but the numbers really aren't there. I think Dak's going to do it. I mean, who else would your MVP? I don't think it's going to go to a non-quarterback because a couple of years ago, what's his face? The name just left me from the Rams. Crowned with the greatest wide receiver season we've ever seen, and he didn't win the MVP. It's a quarterback award. Yeah, Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp didn't win it, and it was a very weak. I think Aaron Rodgers won it. Like it wasn't a great MVP season for Aaron Rodgers. Cooper Kupp had this legendary wide receiver season, and he didn't get it. So it's a quarterback, and I think he's going to have the best numbers and a possible 1 seed, and I think he's going to win it. That's my overreaction.
Let's see. So, Chris, what's going on? See you in here. Well, the Dolphins fan wants Tyreek Hill to win it, which
I'd love to see Tyreek Hill. I'd love to see Tyreek Hill win it.
But yeah.
It'd be great if he could win it because he's having. Yeah, he's had a great year. I watched the game, and he single-handedly turned the game by just being so much better than anyone else on the field. But they don't give the award to non-quarterbacks. I think he's like 20-1 to win the MVP this year. Like it's not the Vegas is smart with these things, and it's just not going to happen. He should get it. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, they'll give him offensive player of the year or whatever.
Offensive player of the year, exactly. That's what he'll get.
Yeah. I mean, John said Stroud. I would not be against that, but obviously they would have to make the playoffs, and even then, which you might have to say they'd probably have to win the division if he really wants to get it. Which, I mean, with the loss last night from Jacksonville, does leave the door open for Stroud and the Texans to possibly win that division. If Hill hits 2,000 yards with double-digit TDs, I like his chances. Yeah, outside of a quarterback, you have to have like a historical record-breaking season. So I do think if Hill were to pull that off, it would make his odds better. But they'll probably still give it to someone. I hope it's not Dak. I can't have Cowboys fans running around with the MVP.
I hope it's not Dak too, but like he's got really good. If they win that division with everyone else not playing well, he's gonna make a good argument. You hate to see it, but like the argument will be there for Dak to be an MVP.
Well, I said at the beginning of the year, 2023 is a weird sports year. Patriots are the worst, and Dak's MVP. I'm swearing off football next season. I can't take it anymore. It's like Do you still see the shared screen or no?
No, I just see. While you figure that out, Brett, what's another overreaction you got?
Oh, man. This one might sound a little crazy because I just have to do it. My overreaction is Green Bay's about to go 6-0. Listen, guys, I think that is a little bit of an overreaction because the NFL has a way of humbling you real quick. Listen, I love the Packers, and I hope they do go 6-0 to finish out the schedule, and they absolutely should. But here's a warning to all Packer fans out there. Green Bay loves to play down to their competition. So guess what? And they're a young team, so I think that we got to pump the brakes a little bit on this whole idea the Packers are going to win out, finish out the schedule 6-0, because I think it's very realistic next week even that they're going to come out and they're going to put up a dud. I'm not going to say they're going to lose to the Giants, but I think that game could be a little more competitive than a lot of people think. So my overreaction is the Packers are going to easily run the table and win out the rest of this year. They're a young team. Let's just see what happens these next 6 weeks.
I'll buy that. I think the Packers bare minimum should go 5-1. That's 5-1. Like if they go 4-2, that's a little concerning. But with their schedule and how they're playing, they should go 5-1.
Oh, absolutely. I think they should go 6-0, but at the same time, I also understand that we just came off 2 emotional wins, and I'm just waiting because we have a lot of trap games coming up. So I could also see us very well going 4-2 to end the year.
Spot though, because the NFC is looking kind of rough at the bottom of the playoff picture. But Mo went in cross sports with his overreaction. Ime versus Braun, much to do about nothing, but I enjoyed it. And
It's something for people for a sports segment than on a slower news day. That's all that was.
Exactly. All right, so I guess I'll give a final overreaction so we can get into these picks, even though why should I be excited for picks? So you'll see here in a little bit. But overreaction. I was going to talk about the Steelers, but I don't know what's really an overreaction for them now. All right, so I guess overreaction, the AFC playoff spots, the wild card teams, I think will be Houston, Denver, and I kind of think Cincinnati finds a way to get the final playoff spot.
Cincinnati finds a way. Okay. That's a hot take. That's a good one. On the Colts to be that the AFC South is going to get 3 teams in the playoffs. But you're going opposite there. You think the Bengals are going to sneak a way in?
I do. Actually, I should probably look at their schedule. Yes, I actually still like their chances because they have the Colts, which could be kind
That's
of
a big game. Who wins that is a big tiebreaker. Big tiebreaker scenarios there.
They only have the Vikings, the Steelers, which will be a big one for their chances. The Chiefs might be the game that worries you the most, and then they end with the Browns. And with what's going on in Cleveland, who knows what that game means to them at the end, but that's going to be... Look, Damien, I saw his name corner my eye, and I just had to go bold. So I was saying the Bengals get one of the wild card spots. You inspired me, Damien. He also put Myles Garrett for MVP. I mean, Myles Garrett's hurt right now. it'd be kind of hard for him to win
That's
MVP.
going to hurt his cause. Yep.
Yes. I'd have been with you, Damian, if he was still
real-
playing, because Miles Garrett's been great.
Monster. Real quick, while you pull up we move on to the predictions. One last overreaction I have here: Detroit Lions aren't winning a playoff game. Their playoff win continue to grow. They peaked early. They looked really good. That defense is susceptible. The Saints had no business. This is me as a Saints fan. The Saints had no making a comeback, especially after Derek Carr got hurt. They almost won that game. If Derek Carr doesn't get hurt, they probably do, because Jameis Winston just can't throw complete to save his life. You could throw on them. Their defense is bad. If you can get pressure at Goff's feet, he looks bad. I think whoever they play in the first round, they peaked way too early.
So John's overreaction was the Chargers only scored 6 points. Fire that coach already. I mean, Patriots defense is a juggernaut. Give my team something.
Hey, if they find a quarterback and get some semblance of an offense next year, they could maybe challenge for a wild card spot, right?
Championship. Book it. All right, so here's how the picks went. So Brett went 2-2-1. Like I said last week I was gonna get you on the graphic. The Patriots was your push because the line was 6, and they lost 6-0 in that barn burner of a game. So you went 2-2-1. You won with your Packers and Seahawks picks, Steelers and Jaguars. Actually, the Jaguars got all of us. Jake and I went 2-3. We all got the Seahawks pick right. Jake had the Lions. I had the Dolphins. We both got the Chiefs, Jaguars wrong, and then you had the Eagles, and I had the Titans, which almost won the Titans one. That's much like most of my season. So looking at the overall, got Jake 28-25-1. I'm 22-31-1, and Brett 6-5-1.
So the whole message is don't take our advice seriously.
I think the message here is run to Vegas with my picks. You're gonna blow your money anyway. Why not have some fun doing it?
Or just do the opposite of what Kyle picks, and you'll be 31-22.
And at that point, I deserve a cut. Okay. Oh, here we go. This is home
gosh.
for me.
Can they flex this out of a Thursday?
Flex
Flex this out of a Thursday game, please.
Let's go. When you think Thursday night football, you think Patriots, Steelers. The history's there. The Tomlin versus Belichick. Sappy versus Trubisky. Come on. Who doesn't want this? Are you serious? I can't wait for this.
This is bad.
Just saying.
I'd rather watch. I'd rather commercials for 3 hours. I mean, the Steelers played the Cardinals, and I get that there was stoppage for that, and that can throw you off your rhythm. But the Steelers didn't look good against a very bad defense in Arizona, who everybody scores on Arizona, and then the Patriots just thought the Chargers have a great defense. Chargers defense is garbage, and they got shut out. Like, do we expect a team to get to 6 points here? I mean, what here? And who's the starting quarterback? Is it Zappy? Do we know for sure who's starting, Kyle? It's Zappy. Oh God,
the best player.
I know they can't flex out Thursday games, but they should, because this is just when I think of Thursday. Reasons why I don't like Thursday night football from a quality standpoint, this is like the best way to put it: is 2 bad teams, short rest in the middle. It's bad. It's bad.
Listen, Google is your friend this week. Google the punter for the Patriots and the Steelers, because they're going to be coming up a lot this week.
They're going to be the MVPs of the game.
Matchup. This is going to show you how defense is supposed to be played. We don't need 45-40. Give me a good 3-2. I don't care. TJ Watt safety, a Chad Ryland field goal. We go home, we're happy. I mean, John put 12-10 Patriots. Would that surprise me? Not at all. the fact that we have 4 scoring drives, that's progress. Look, I'm there with you. I don't know how this game made it on the schedule. I guess if you look at it before this season, like I said, Steelers Patriots, the rivalry that used to be, probably sold this game. Tomlin versus Belichick, it probably would have sold it to Amazon. Oh, who does the games? It's what? Is it Herb Street and?
It's Herb Street and Michaels. Michaels is going to be having a little bit of.
Michaels has a tendency on these Thursday games to be disinterested, so expect that this week.
Keeping Al Michaels interested in is if they put something in his drink. That's the only way we're going to have any kind of entertaining Al Michaels, is if he's got a little extra, dad's to keep him interested, because otherwise he's just going to be completely checked out. And you can't blame him. A lot of other games, you could blame him for not being invested. This one, give these guys a gold medal for enduring this and commentating for 3 hours on this game.
Hershey could give you some Zappy talk at Western Kentucky. Give me some of the analytics of the great Hilltopper teams of years past.
Yeah, how long before the real should be, the over-under on the minutes, how long do they before they start talking about Brady and Roethlisberger, about the history, where that has to be the bulk of what they talk about in the game?
Opening kickoff.
I think I'd rather watch like a live cast feed of whatever Brady and Roethlisberger are doing for 3 hours than watch whatever happens in this game. I don't even care if they're like both taking a nap. Let's go.
I think he should go first for his prediction, since his team is gracing us with their presence on primetime Thursday Night Football.
Mine was turns to a lightning round type of thing. The over-under is 30, so look out there. I guess I'll go, man. Something tells me Trubisky has like some crazy game with his legs. I'll take the Patriots plus the 6, because I'm going down with the ship. I'm on the Titanic and I'm playing the violin. That's where I'm at this point. So just give me the Patriots plus the 6.
I'll take the Steelers winning this one by a whopping score of 9-6. There won't be a lot.
Cover.
Yeah, no, there won't be a lot going on, but I don't see it going much higher than that.
Awful. I hate making this. I'm gonna give me the Steelers.
To break this game down. Come on.
Burn the all 22. Just burning to the late nights of the hours by candlelight. Just analyzing this. Now, give me the Steelers. I think Trubisky with his legs can do a little bit. Their offense, did start to open up. I think they're going to give Trubisky a little bit better of a chance to figure out how he wants to play. It's going to be low scoring. It's probably going to be 4-3. I think the real key is going to be the Steelers' defense is probably going to force some turnovers that either lead to easy points or just a straight up touchdown, whether it's a pick six score. But I'll go on the edge and just say the Steelers win this game and cover.
Okay.
John
said basically put it on mute and blast old school Metallica. Okay. And Damien said he'd rather eat multiple one chips torturing his mouth than watch this game. You're gonna miss out, Damien. That's all I'll say.
Miss out on the weekly Deontay Johnson meltdown on the sideline.
Absolutely.
Reason to watch. And plus, who knows? Maybe Mac Jones makes an appearance. Never know at this point. Oh.
No.
All right, let's go to the next one. Well, Mr. MVP, I guess. Dak hosting Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. The Cowboys are a 3.5-point favorite. How do we see this one going down? Start with you, Brett.
Ooh, I don't know if I want to bet against Freddie's Cowboys. He posts about them more than anyone, but
I thought Freddie was a Giants fan.
Giants, Rams, the NFL.
Niners. I don't know at this point. It's all over the place.
So this one is going to be this one's a tough one. I will take the Cowboys. The Eagles are coming off a really tough stretch of games here. And Dak just seems to have the Eagles' number. I think this is a perfect storm of the Eagles being worn out after just going to war against, the Niners. And the Cowboys are they're just going to be the fresher team. They're going to have the fresher legs. And I might be wrong on this, but I believe they're the healthier team right now, too. So I will take the Cowboys, and I will take them in a 6-point win, 26-20.
Okay. Jake, you agree?
So one interesting point about their health and their fresh is that Dallas does have the rest advantage. They played Thursday, whereas the Eagles played on Sunday. So that will play a factor. I'm going to take Philadelphia. I think even if the Cowboys do win this game, I think it's going to be a 3-point victory. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think Dallas has only played one good team, and looked good on the other end. And that was Seattle last week. And even then, you have to really debate how good actually is Seattle compared to the other elite teams in the NFC. And I just don't see Philadelphia losing 2 in a row. I think they stake here. The number 1 seed's at stake. The division title's at stake. I think they're going to be able to bounce back and play kind of angry. And the defense might be able to really kind of Dak's head. I don't love this pick because, again, my overreaction was that Dak Prescott was going to win MVP, and for him to get MVP, he has to win this. But if I'm going to put this fictional money down on this, I'm going to take the Eagles to cover and probably win outright.
I agree. I'm taking the Eagles. I think when I looked at the back-to-back with Cowboys and Niners for the Eagles, I thought they would lose one. So I think the fact that they lost to the Niners in the fashion that they did, this will be the game that they'll be focused, and I think they get it done against the Cowboys. So I will take the Eagles plus 3.5 as well. Okay. Now we got Monday night. I mean, I was about to make a Titans joke, but I'm not going to do it. I'm in no position with my team being on Thursday night. But we got the Titans traveling to Miami to face the Dolphins. Big line, 13.5. I mean,
that's a scary line.
Exactly. So at that point, you're wondering, can the Titans slow down the Dolphins' offense enough to stay within 2 touchdowns? Can Will Levis play maybe the game of his life to keep it closer than anything? So how do we see this going? Start with you, Jake.
I'm going to take Miami. I don't love anytime I have to give up double-digit points as far as goes when I'm gambling, because anything can happen. But I'm taking Miami. The thing that I've noticed with Miami the past couple of weeks is their defense is actually Jalen Ramsey coming back to the team has made a big difference on what they can do. Their pass rush has been fairly good. I know they played Washington and they have no offensive line. They've been a pretty good team when it comes to pressuring the quarterback. They have a really good secondary. And look, what's Tennessee going to do? We don't expect Will Levis to do a whole. They're going to have to stop the running game. The only way that Tennessee covers is if they win the time of possession, like heavily by the running game with Derrick Henry. But Miami's really trying to prove to everybody, yeah, we're currently the number 1 seed and we are the best team in the AFC, because the AFC is just, I mean, 1 week it's good, the next week they look garbage. It's such an up and down. They want to come out here, they want to have a good showing, and I think that they're going to go out and throw on this team. And again, their defense for Miami, and I think it's going to limit Tennessee and make them one-dimensional.
Brett?
Yeah, give me the Dolphins. Hopefully Jory's not going to be waiting for me in the chat to yell at me for this one, but give me the Dolphins. I'll take it 31-13. Like Jake alluded to, unless Tennessee really, really owns the time of possession, I don't see this game being within 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. It has to be a big time of possession battle, because Washington won the time of possession battle pretty heavily against them. We just mop the floor with them. Like it has to be sustained drives that lead to points and the turnover, and the time of possession battle, which I just don't think Tennessee has to do.
Well, I may have some good news for Jordan. Because I'm taking the Dolphins minus the 13.5, which means I'm going to be dead wrong, and Tennessee is going to probably make it a 3-point game. So, there you go. Well, we're all on the Dolphins, but we'll see how that goes.
Is it too late to change my answer? No kidding.
It has been written down. It is locked in.
I think we should have Kyle go first every time, so it's kind of like a forewarning until he gets his record better.
That makes sense. So, yeah, we'll do that. From here on out, I will go first until I get over 500, or I just, I still say
maybe if you have a
that
500,
TikTok.
we'll give it to you. You go like 4-1 on your picks. We'll let you not pick first. Maybe that's what it takes.
Okay, I can live with that. All right, so before we get to the rest of the schedule, do one last break with a word from the network.
Hey, this is Chris from Coffee and Sports, the morning show over on Sports Empire Network.
And this is Mo. Catch us on Northeast Streaming Sports Production, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 10 a.m.
We hope to see you there.
I think Kyle's muted. Picks it up while he gets the graphics switched over. There we go.
Yeah, because the ad started playing again. I don't know what that was. Yeah, so I missed the page with the rest of the week, but I do have a screenshot of the FanDuel stuff, so we can kind of look at that. Or if you have it pulled up, I guess it could go off of that as well.
Yeah, I'll say we got one more primetime game. We got Packers and Giants Monday night.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot there was a second Monday night game.
2 of them this week.
That is kind of random. That just randomly this week they're going back to 2 Monday night games. Well, Brett, we'll let you go last since that is your team. So I guess I'm supposed to go first as my punishment. Froze here. Hold on. I am just going through it today. All right, there we go. I'm back. All right, so it's the Packers and that's it. I had to pull it up because I forgot about that game.
Yeah, it's Packers. Let's see. Let's see if I can pull up some of these spreads here. Packers, Giants.
Mm-hmm.
What is the spread? Let me see if I can pull it up here while we get that figured out.
For anybody interested, the Bucks are currently up 13 on the Knicks in the in-season tournament.
Oh boy.
Bucks are right now shooting 67% from 3, so they're just going nuts from the line right now.
That's good for them. The Packers are going to the Giants, so it's in New Jersey. Packers are 6.5-point favorites currently.
I'll take the Packers. I mean, I can't trust Tommy DeVito, whatever his first name is. And I think the Packers have found a nice little groove right now. So I expect to see. Now, hopefully, like Brett said, they kind of play down to their competition. I hope that doesn't happen because this would be the worst time to do it. And so I think they're going to be in playoff mode. They're going to look at this game as a serious opportunity to cement themselves as a playoff team, as a wild card team at least. So I'll take the Packers minus the. Well, I had it at 6.5. I did find the graphic I had for it. So we'll use 6.5. So I'll take Packers minus 6.5.
Yeah, I'm taking the Packers. The Giants have no offense unless Tommy DeVito and the Giants are playing Washington. Looks like bridge. Packers are on a good roll. They know what's at stake. They know they can get a good wild card seat here if they continue to win, and they're probably going to win this game 20 to like 10 at that range. Like I have zero faith in the Giants at this point. That roster is garbage.
All right, Brett.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking the same thing as Jake. I got the Packers winning, and I think 24-10 sounds about right. Like I said, I'm really worried about the Packers playing down to their opponent and just overlooking the Giants, but I don't think they do it. I think they'll be just fine, but it is something to look out for.
So Damien said this game should have been Thursday Night Football. No, because we have Patriots Steelers where it deserves to be. And Mo said don't put the Giants on TV or even radio. They sound like a bad team. That's
they do though. Like those poor announcers that have, man. Like give them credit for sticking it out every week because this team is bad. Even with the great coach, this team is bad.
Now, at least for Monday night, well, I wonder how the Manning broadcast will work. Because at least you can watch that. And, maybe Peyton rips on the Giants or Eli, you get some kind of reaction from him. At least you got that if you're not interested in watching the Giants, as Mo said. He wouldn't even listen to them. So, I mean, Brett, you'll be watching because it is your team.
Oh, yeah.
And if I watch Thursday night, I will be watching this as well. So I can't be a beggar or a chooser at this point. All right. So I do know I don't have a graphic for the rest of the week. I couldn't get that one up. But I can say some of the matchups that we have. I had it here on the phone.
I got it pulled up here real quick. I can go through the rest of the lines if you don't have it.
I got them. All right, so
okay.
So now we do our locks and upsets, of course. So that I need that. So we have Rams going to the Ravens, -7.5 to the Ravens as a possible matchup to choose from. We have Jake Saints as a 5.5-point favorite over the Panthers in New Orleans. You have the Bengals as a 1.5-point home dog to the Colts. The Browns are a 3-point favorite at home to the Jags. That's kind of interesting. Well, actually, with the
Trevor Lawrence being hurt,
I guess. Falcons are a 2.5-point favorite over the Bucks because it's in Atlanta. Makes sense. The Bears are a 3-point dog at home to the Lions. I should just say the favorite. The Texans are a 5.5-point favorite on the road to the Jets. The Niners are a 10.5-point favorite over the Seahawks in San Francisco. That's another big line. The Vikings are a 3-point favorite over the Raiders. That's in Vegas. The Chargers are a 2.5-point favorite over the Broncos in LA. Interesting. Chiefs are a 2.5-point favorite over the Bills. Games in Kansas City. And that's it. That's the last one. So who has a lock and an upset? Or am I punished and have to go first with this as well? So you don't pick the same game as me.
We don't, it's just when we're all picking the same games, you got to go first. So me and Brett can be a little more wary. I can go first. I was looking at my picks. My upset is the Broncos over the Chargers. I think the Chargers. Then you put up 6 points against the Patriots. Big whoop. No one really cares. Denver knows they're still in the playoff hunt. They still have a lot. Yeah. The Chargers know, or sorry, the Broncos know they're still in the playoff hunt. They could still get this going. Chargers have no home field advantage. It's in LA, but that's the only thing that's there. Broncos fans travel really well, so it's going to be at least I would say a 70% Denver home crowd. And I don't Chargers have done. So I think the Broncos upset the Chargers. And then for my lock of the week is so Houston was a 5.5 point for the Jets. Is that what you had? Texans Jets 5.5.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, that's my lock. That's my lock. I think Houston knows go for. I know there's an injury to Tank, but there's a lot of other weapons that they can have. The Jets have no quarterback play whatsoever. There's rumors that Zach will play anymore for this team. So they have Trevor Siemian. Like, give me that. That's lock it up, make it easy, and Texans win big.
All right, Brett.
Alrighty, for my upset of the week, give me the Bengals over the Colts.
I like it.
For my lock of the week, this one I did. Give me the Browns over the Jags. I just don't think the Jags are going to have enough after that Lawrence injury.
All right, so you got Browns -3, and then the Bengals +1.5. Like that. Do we know the extent of the Lawrence injury yet?
I'm not sure. I just know it's
I
an
haven't
ankle.
heard.
Okay. I mean, it's probably a good thing. All right, so for me,
It's a high
I'll
ankle
go-
sprain, is what it looks like. So who
Oh,
knows
dreaded
on that
high ankle
timetable?
sprain.
Yeah, it's not good.
I'll go. All right, I'm gonna go really bold here. I'll take the Rams +7.5 against the Ravens.
Oh, making that my lock for Baltimore to beat the Rams. So that's interesting if that upset's gonna happen. It could happen though.
At this point,
Decent.
I am not using any logic at this point. I don't have a reason for it. Just more than the Ravens are. I still have some questions about them. I could see the Rams keeping it close. Now the Ravens defense is really good, so we'll have to see if the Rams can kind of deal with that. But I got a weird feeling about that game. I still think the Ravens will win it, but 7.5, no. And then I will take. So I need a lock here. Because of how crazy the NFC South is, I feel like Falcons -2.5 in Atlanta just seems like it's supposed to happen. Actually, no, I can't do that one. Because that goes against my overreaction. The Falcons aren't good. If they win that, then they'll probably throw a party because they'll probably win the division at that point. I could go reverse psychology, but no. All right, so I'll go with... No, I'll take Chiefs 2.5 over the Bills. I am not confident in that at all, but it's like two teams that are struggling right now. And I guess I'll give it more towards the Chiefs defense being able to frustrate Josh Allen in that one. So I'll take the Chiefs -2.5. I can see a field goal win there. That would seem right. So yeah, I'll take Chiefs -2.5.
Okay.
And the Bills revenge game.
Not
Playoff
bad.
game in like 3 years ago they're still crying about.
Yep. Got to get over it, man.
Fan,
You're not gonna win game talking about past.
Right. It's a sad way to live, but yeah, that's all we got. I mean, you guys have anything before we get out of here? I know Brett's got to get ready.
It's a great show.
And
Great show, great audience participation. So thanks for everyone for stepping in. Really makes the show great. Looking forward to a good week of football and looking forward to coming back here next Tuesday.
Brett.
Only thing I got to say is right after this, we're going to be doing And One with me and my boy Mo. So make sure y'all be tuning into that.
All I'll say is a trade between the Yankees and the Red Sox just went down, which further proves that it's a weird year because those two teams never traded with each other, and they found a way to do it today. Who knows? If that could happen, maybe I could go 6-0 on my picks. Ever the optimist I am. But appreciate everybody who's in the chat. Definitely was a great night with the interaction. If you are new to the channel, appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Because a lot of great stuff coming on the network. Like Brett said, got And One coming up next, so they'll get you caught up with everything in the world of the NBA. And look out for their underrated player based off a certain stat.
Underrated player of the week. It's my favorite segment every week to do.
It's a great segment, so definitely tune in for that. We're here next week, 7 o'clock. We're a little later today. That was on me, so apologize for that. But we will be back at 7 next week. So until then, for myself, Jake, and Brett, we will see you. Good night. Enjoy the rest of your week. We're out of here.